What's up, Tim?
What's up? What's up?
Oh, yeah, we're back early on.
Yeah.
Sunday, 8 o'clock. Ooh, it's an exciting day.
It is.
What's on the menu today?
Oh, man. What is on the menu?
What the fuck, Tim?
What the what?
Do your homework, shit.
Yeah.
I thought you were watching the schedule and shit.
Oh, man.
Never mind, we're just kidding. We don't have a fucking schedule. God damn it. Today we have a special guest, Mr. Austin Stark, producer and director of several great movies. We had the chance to talk to him, so we're going to have a nice chit-chat and see what happens.
Indeed.
Hello.
Hello.
Hey,
Austin.
there he is.
So nice to hear your voice.
Hey, how are you guys?
Pretty good. Thank you, sir, so much for this. This is a
thanks.
Is a delightful treat.
Thanks for having me.
No
Thanks for having
problem.
me. Are you guys? I'm hearing a ringing in the background.
You know what? Let me turn it. Okay, I turned off the video. I think it was by default.
Hello?
How is that?
Okay, cool. Yeah, good. Are you fine with just audio?
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
That's fine. Oh, yeah. So how are you doing, man?
I'm good. How you doing?
Pretty good, sir. All right. We were just talking
Where are you
about
guys?
we are in Dallas, Texas.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
You're
where
in
are you?
Texas.
If you don't mind.
Right now, I'm in Copenhagen.
Oh, nice.
So my partner, she grew up here, and so we took a vacation after the movie release and visiting her family, and we have a daughter who's 5 months old, and so she's meeting Daria's parents. So,
Oh, nice. That's pretty good.
yeah, it's great.
Man, let's dive right in.
Yeah,
We were just
beautiful.
talking about it. The God Committee. What the hell happened? That was a movie that you just... I had my wife. She's in the medical field and stuff. So I told her just stand by and watch with me so, we can see the medical stuff. I mean, we were just blown away. No compliments intended. This is a fact. I did not expect it. I'm serious.
That means a lot.
Can you just give us
That's
a
great to
rundown? How did you find the subject matters? Because I'm not familiar with that process. I learned how these things happen, and it sparked a debate.
No, I wasn't. I learned the same way as you when I read a play by Mark St. Germain. So essentially, the genesis for this project was, years ago, I had heard a story about a wealthy guy in the Northeast who was very sick and he needed an organ transplant.
Yeah.
And he essentially bribed a hospital for a new organ. And so I'd heard this story from a friend of mine, and that stuck with me. And I just couldn't believe that was possible in the United States. And so I never forgot that story. And then years later, a couple of producers, Jonathan Rubinstein and Ari Pinchot, had optioned a play called The God Committee that was off Broadway, and they took it to me to direct. And I read that play, and the story came rushing back to me. And I knew I had to do it after I read it. And so I ended up adapting the play and, starting through the casting process, and here we are. But I learned about it as well by reading that play.
That was amazing because, all my life, what I understood slightly, people are in a list in the hospital. So like you show up, they put your name. I show up a month later, my name is under your name, and it goes on. And then if there's an organ, okay, you look at the list and you go, I did not expect that there's people who are making these decisions.
Yeah.
Was
no, totally. And there are lists, and those lists, basically is the one that creates those lists, but it's organ committees like the one depicted in the movie that basically classify patients, and they're the ones that determine whether patients are viable for transplants.
Wow.
And so in order to do that, because there's an organ shortage, they can't just give everybody an organ just because there aren't enough. And so the process exists. Like they need to figure out who's viable, so they're not wasting the precious few organs that are available.
Yeah.
And so they need to take into account social, psychological, and by proxy, economic factors when evaluating their patients. And it's a very gray area.
Wow.
And yeah, it's really compelling.
Yeah, we were just talking about it.
Of course,
you know,
medical need.
I was like, I can't make that decision. You know, it's a tough one.
Yeah, that line's heavy.
But
yeah,
let me ask you about.
I wanted. Yeah.
Let me ask you about the pace of the movie. It's there was also the style was pretty amazing, like the going back and forth in timeline. It took me a second. It was like, what's happening? And then I realized, you know, you're going back and forth. Was that your choice or?
Yeah, that wasn't part of the play. So I would say the film is inspired by the play,
okay.
But I wanted to put my own stamp on the material. And
you certainly did.
So essentially yeah, exactly. And so the play takes place primarily in the boardroom.
Yeah.
And in adapting it, I thought it was really interesting to explore the impact of that one decision.
Yeah.
And so I created the storyline in the present day with that idea in mind, just to basically show how that one decision changes the course of many different lives. And I just thought that was a compelling concept to explore in adapting it.
It was.
That's
it
where
was.
that came
it
from.
was.
But,
it was refreshing to see a pace that is unusual. You know, it takes you through the story and it gives you like a moment to think.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, and to show like how important these decisions really are.
It was. Kelsey Graham was amazing, man. I was like, you know, I grew up knowing him from Frasier.
Yeah, he's awesome.
From Frasier, the show, and he's like funny and witty and stuff. But in that movie, the performance, it's like I believed his real life. He's like that.
It's completely different from what we're usually seeing him do.
Yeah.
Which is
so
nice.
No, totally. He's fantastic, and I like that, you know, that you're not expecting it, and that's why he wanted to do the film too, because he said to me, you know, and we actually offered him Father Dunbar, the role that Coleman Domingo played in the film, and he read it and he called me and he's like, I love the script, I want to be a part of it. I would be happy to play Father Dunbar, but what I really think would be interesting is if I played Boxer, because I've been in this industry for decades and I've never done this before.
Yeah, he fit the role. I mean, I think he casted himself well.
So he wanted to kind of like challenge himself.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's cool. I love doing that where you're casting actors who are known, but you're putting them in roles that people haven't seen them do. And that's what makes it feel fresh.
Yeah, it was amazing.
You know, and I did that with Janine Garofalo as well. Like she played totally against type. You imagine her being in comedies.
Yeah. That's true.
And I
felt the same. I felt the same experience as with Kelsey Graham as with the Runner. I remember, you know, when the Runner came out, Nicolas Cage. It's like I haven't seen him for a long time, and then he just came right out of nowhere in your film, and his performance in that movie was like kind of unusual. Nicolas Cage.
Yeah, thank you.
It was very sincere. It was like, dude, I was like, this guy. I mean, this is another Nicolas Cage, because that's about around the time when we were friends on Facebook, me and you. That's how I discovered you. And I shot you a request and it was like, cool. And then I started following. The movie came out and I watched it and I was like, what is this? This is not Nicolas Cage. You know, I was expecting something else. How did that experience went?
It was similar actually to how Kelsey Grammer ended up as Boxer, is that like Nicolas had been doing a lot of these like action films and some supernatural movie, like very different stuff, like genre films that were, you know, pretty commercial, and he hadn't been, you know, of course he's a great dramatic actor, and, you know, Leaving Las Vegas, and there's a lot of roles that he's been recognized as a great dramatic actor, but for some reason he had gotten away from it, and he had just been doing like genre films for years. And in this case, like I saw that and I'm like, Nicolas Cage is such an incredible actor, and he's not being given. Yeah, he has such great range, and he's not been given the roles that he deserves. And so that was what was behind my thinking when we made him an offer. And we just made him an offer, and he happened to read it and he loved it, and that's how he signed on. Like we had no connection to him. I just was like, oh, wouldn't Nicolas Cage be great? And it just happened to work out.
That is awesome.
You know?
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, that's amazing. I mean,
yeah, it was cool. It's
we,
interesting because Cage is like has a new movie, Pig, where he's doing more of his dramatic stuff, which looks really cool.
wow. I look in your Paper Street film company. Yeah. You guys have like a catalog of really interesting topics and films that you bring. It's I was going through the list.
Yeah.
It has a range and all these like different topics. I mean, as a producer, because you produced a lot of them, it's like, is that like you have a particular choice in subject matters on purpose, or what's your process?
The answer to that is that I've always made films that just have resonated with me for one reason or another that I feel passionate about. Because anytime you undertake a movie, even as a producer, it still consumes a lot of your life, and you can't, you can't make 1,000 films in your lifetime. So I've always tried to just work on films that I'm passionate about, that I can imagine myself being passionate about 10 years from now, you know?
Yeah.
And so, but I guess as a filmmaker, I've always gravitated to topics that I feel are socially relevant.
Yeah, I respect that a lot.
Inspire conversations and
because you have
I've done
choices that are
as a
good.
Producer that aren't. Yeah, no, totally. Thank you. And I've done films that are I did a rom-com called Happy Thank You More Please, which was the audience award winner at Sundance, which I wouldn't call that like socially relevant. So I've done other films, but certainly as a director, I'm gravitating more to socially conscious.
You should totally stick to that because I love weird subject matters and things that are intricate, and we are here in the indie circle. We do. Yeah. I mean, we have the freedom to do whatever we want. We don't have any budgets and stuff, but that's why we can do any weird story we want and all that. Short format and all that stuff.
That's why independent.
Yeah. So for you, it's like you were able to do that at a little bit higher level, but you stick with those subjects. Someone tells you, oh, it's not a blockbuster, it's not going to be a hit, but you're hitting on a topic that matters to you, to a community, or to, an issue. That's a commendable choice.
Yeah, exactly. And of course you want your films to be, to be blockbusters and to for everybody in the world to see them. But for me, it's like, I'll choose content that I feel like is creatively like satisfying to me, and that like I feel like is worth spending a few years of my life. And it's great because even if this movie, The God Committee is not in every theater in America, but a lot of people are going to see it, and people like you like watched it and you responded to it, and that makes it all worth it.
Well, you know what? We support you 100% because it's a fine line. We're, like I said, indie independents. We're graveling at the bottom of the barrel, but we love the topics that we want to do. It's like I don't do anything or direct anything or write anything unless I like it or it's mysterious to me. So we support you 100%. Stick to that.
Thank you.
Like, seriously.
Life is too short, right?
Exactly,
you gotta
right?
work on things that you love.
Yeah. I really loved how, like, both in the God Committee and The Runner, how you basically got these topics. And like he was saying, they're not like big action flicks or anything. You found like a issue, a really interesting story, and made it captivating the entire time. Like I'm watching this, I was thoroughly enjoying and intrigued and interested in this movie. But it's not like big Hollywood productions where, I won't say they have like an agenda, but they always kind of like throw in like their writers will have some, what am I thinking of it?
Some motive?
Yeah, well, kind of some motive. Like they have that cheesy line, and that's for like the kids or something or that. But yours is like really direct in like what you want it to be. And it's like I said, it's captivating, like kept me interested to all the way to the end.
I definitely enjoyed. I definitely enjoyed hearing Kelsey Graham drop the F word passionately. What the fuck just happened? That was like, God damn it! I was like, whoa! And he said it like he meant it. I was like, damn. If I was in front of him, I'll be scared right there.
Yeah, that line when they're all in there and the pastor's there and he's like, well, if God wants to make the decision, or until God comes in here to himself to make that decision, like, this is the best we have, basically. I don't know, I forget the line
in
verbatim.
10 years, I haven't seen him once.
Yeah,
exactly.
Dude, yeah, that was a great line.
It was refreshing. I enjoyed that a lot, that moment.
Yeah, I was like, damn. He was like, he hit the nail on the head.
Let's get a little bit nerdy with you here, since we're all in the filmmaking business at different levels. So how does the production, process works at that level? It's like, do you decide like everything from color choices to editing choices to all these things? How do you approach that process?
Yeah, I mean, I ultimately, because I also produce this film, and the structures, as I'm sure you guys know, of independent films vary depending on who's producing it, who's financing it. So sometimes filmmakers do, even in the independent space, have to answer to somebody. But on this film, I was producing it as well. So ultimately, I had, I had say over every single decision that went into the film.
Nice.
With that said, though, I relied a lot on, like, I worked with Matt Saktani Rowe as my cinematographer, and he's like an artist himself. And so I'm not, I wanted him to do his best work. And so I would say that it was a collaboration, and with Alan Cannot, the editor, as well, and all of my department heads, costume design and production design. I choose people that I think are talented to work with, and I let them be artists and try not to impede too much on their process, but make sure that it's adhering to my vision of the film as well. And so rarely will I be like, oh no, I don't want this scene to have, for green to be the color of the scene. I want it to be like, rarely will I do that. And I'll kind of, we'll work together to come up with the visual language of the film. And so I'm not like a dictator in that sense. I like to let people be artists that I work with.
Well, that's the fun part about making a film. You get to collaborate with a bunch of people. It's like a one brain that is composed, by many. You have several eyes that serve as one.
Exactly. And it's your job just to make sure that it coheres to your vision.
Yeah.
But, and I'm sure some directors are more dictatorial in that sense. But for me, it's like, you think about just the cinematographer himself, and he's, Matt is so talented. Like, the guy is
the cinematography of the God Committee was amazing.
Yeah.
I appreciate that stillness in the format. It's like you're walking through a still, painting. You're just walking through it and it's still. It was smooth to watch.
Yeah, no, and you could have made that hospital, because you're shooting so much of the film in a hospital. A lot of people would have just let the white walls just be, and and make it, and just like have a shaky camera and just like shoot at verite, which you could have done, but like we wanted to create a visual style and really embrace something, and so from the color and to the way that the shots are composed, like if you notice, like over the course of those boardroom scenes, each scene gets gradually closer and closer.
Yeah.
The first scene is done in all wide shots, and by the end you're in all close-ups. And
it starts to get claustrophobic.
Decision. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Did you shoot in the actual hospital?
We shot at Woodhull Hospital in Brooklyn.
Oh, nice. My wife is from New York, so she recognized the New York stuff.
Yeah, we shot the film all in New York, and Woodhull was kind enough to let us shoot there, and they had some wings that they weren't using. Yeah. And so we ended up making a donation to the hospital.
That's nice.
So we would shoot in places that like were under construction, and we would dress them ourselves, or just wings that they weren't using because they didn't have the staff.
Oh, that's cool. I mean, that kind of worked out with the setup, like in the movie, they were complaining about the hospital is in shambles and they need to do the remodeling and all that. And I was like, oh, that fits.
Oh, totally.
It kind of
it does feel similar, like
It
in
did.
reality, to the hospital in the film,
Yeah, wow.
for sure.
Yeah, the reason I was asking earlier, because there's a joke running in the indie scene here around, like with the orange and teal. Where do you stand on the orange and teal?
With what?
The color choices.
The orange and teal.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe you don't know. Do you know that?
Yeah, this whole thing.
Yeah, you mean my color choices in the film?
No,
or
in films
just
in
the-
general lately. There's an
orange and teal.
abuse of that palette.
Yeah, you've seen a lot of YouTube videos too.
Yeah, I haven't been tracking it that closely.
Yeah,
but I know what you're
it's a
talking
running
about.
joke.
It
I
hasn't
know.
been something that's been on my mind. Yeah.
It's a running
now
joke.
I'll be seeing it everywhere.
Yeah,
Yeah,
sure.
now
Yeah.
that's it. We got it in your head.
Yeah, now that we pointed it out.
Sorry. Sorry. Man.
It'll ruin everything for me now. But
Oh, man. We apologize. I'm just kidding. We're trying to help you make a refined choice.
Yeah, look, now
Exactly.
he's gonna
I'll stay
make
away from orange and
Yeah,
teal.
you're gonna make
No,
a
stay
movie,
away
like,
from it.
Get those colors out of here.
Oh, that's amazing. So the script was written, or did you write the script?
I wrote it, but it's inspired by the play.
Okay.
So I basically, it's very different than the play, though. What I did was what I ended up doing was I read the play, and then I took a Word document and I just cut and pasted things that I liked, dialogue and beats from the script, and I put it into the Word document. Then I put away the play and I never looked at it again.
Nice.
Just because I wanted this to be inspired by it. I didn't want, and even though it's the WGA that says it's based on it, but I wanted to make it my own, and
that's great. I mean, I do the same thing.
Yeah,
Sometimes people hand me over a story, friends, I just read it. I just read it once and then I put it away and I sit down, I write from memory and from what the impressions, and I never look back at that story afterwards.
Yeah, because you don't want it to influence you too much,
Yeah.
especially like with a lot of film adaptations of plays. I feel like haven't worked in the past, and I didn't want to fall into that trap of relying too heavily on it. So it's I didn't want it to feel like a play, in other words, because it's a different medium.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, just totally different media. It's like a huge gap.
Yeah.
So what's your future project? Can you give us some teasers?
Yeah, I'm just finishing a script. It's called Plague with an exclamation point, and it's kind of wild. It's set during the Spanish flu in 1917, and it's about a cook. It's about a cook who's like a grifter, like he's a bum.
Wow.
And he gets a job working for a wealthy family on an island called East Egg, like an affluent island.
Wow.
Not unlike the Great Gatsby. And he, it's during the Spanish flu. So he ends up using the pandemic as leverage to create an uprising with the fellow staff members, and they take over the house.
How appropriate when we are just living through a pandemic.
Right.
Exactly.
What are you doing, Austin? You're trying to. Wow.
Exactly. It's timely in that way. It's also about class.
Wow.
And so I think it does have that.
That's a period film.
Like,
how are you
to
gonna pull that off? It's a period film.
Yeah, a lot of it takes place in one mansion. So it's really a question of getting a good deal, whether we shoot in like Rhode Island or outside of New York, upstate or something like that. To once we can, get a great deal on that one location, like it's not that expensive to shoot because you're basically talking about dressing, you're presumably you're renting a mansion that was from that time period and anyway, and so you're talking about costumes and production design, which doesn't add too much onto the budget. And then we have a few scenes, like the first 10 pages take place in the city, and so we're gonna have to get creative in shooting in a place that that aesthetically like can be dressed to look like it's from 1917, but there's parts of each city that you can kind of get around it.
You can trick it,
whether it's New York or or Boston or whatever. So, and it's only 10 pages. So that's like a day, 2 days of shooting. Like, and it's not all exteriors either in the city. So it's not as expensive as you would think it would be.
Oh, cool. That's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had similar experience once. I shot a short film supposed to be during World War II and then tried to shoot that with zero budget. So, cheating techniques. So we learned cheating techniques, these two soldiers in the trenches and stuff. If you look in the trenches, it's all about what you're looking at. It's convincing. You stand up and you look across and you'll be like, okay, now I'm back into the 21st century.
You just have to address the frame. It's literally the frame.
The frame,
that
that's
you're shooting
it.
in. Like I'm walking right now. I'm on a street in Copenhagen and I'm looking down the street and I could easily imagine it being 1917.
Yeah.
With taking down an awning or two. Like, I'm just looking at it right now.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of, there's a lot of ways to get around it without having to spend $20 million or whatever.
Yeah. Well, speaking of that, I sent you a link to the YouTube channel where I have all the works. I would be glad to see if you can take a look at some of them and tell me what you think.
Yeah.
They're all short, 15, 10 minutes long pieces. Yeah, throughout the course of the years.
You sent it on Facebook?
Yeah.
On Messenger.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll take a look.
So watch them, and then I'll tell you the secret afterwards, what it took to make them and how long I made them. So I will see if you can guess it or not.
Have you?
I will definitely check it out.
Have you ever done, especially like now that you're doing like these bigger films, do you still do like any kind of guerrilla shooting or have ever done guerrilla shooting?
I have done it. My smallest film, I'm trying to think. None of my features have been made guerrilla, but I've certainly done a lot of branded content that I would consider guerrilla, where we're working with like
skeleton
crew of 5 people, and exactly. Because marketing these days, especially when you're doing branded content for social media, like companies just don't have that much money to spend, and so. And I like doing branded content. I'm trying to do more of it. If it, and there's a lot of companies that'll just let me, kind of run with it and not have to like adhere to, traditional, like to a traditional commercial. And it's fun for me to do. And a lot of times there's not a lot of money there. And so I'll get creative and shoot guerrilla. So I do have some experience.
If you're ever in Texas and Dallas, just hit me up. We can spend the weekend together and just play with one camera and nothing else. Let's take this super gorilla.
Come and hang out.
Yeah, Tim here is our sound guy. That's all we need. We have a good sound guy, and that's it.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
Yeah, Tim is our in-house engineer sound.
I would love to come visit. Yeah, it's a great city.
You're welcome. There's plenty of locations here that there's a lot of stuff.
Cool.
All right, Austin. We don't want to keep you too long. I know you're with a kid. I just had my wife take the kids out for breakfast so they can leave me alone so we could talk. I have a 2-year-old. He's like,
if I was in New York, I'd be better, but we're on vacation, so it's like,
no, you're good.
Hey,
we'll talk again, man. If you're good. Yeah.
Thank you for
I'll wait.
taking time out of your day and doing this, man. It means a lot to us.
We'll wait for your next film when we talk again.
Awesome. And I'll hit you guys up if I'm in Dallas.
100%, friend.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you very much, Austin. Have a good day.
Thank you.
Serena Vasquez is dead.
We can't waste a heart. It goes to somebody else in this hospital.
It has to be beating by 11 a.m. We need to be prepping someone else by 9:30, the latest.
Talk about getting thrown into the fire on your first day.
And sort through the matches, make a decision.
Our first patient is Janet Pike.
The idea of having someone else's heart in her body is disturbing to her.
Yet she's still listed.
You want Walter to have the heart.
Walter has the right disposition.
If I get rejected again, just let me go home.
Man, what a movie.
It was a great film.
It was
I should say film.
A brain teaser. And a heart teaser.
Yeah, I was about to say more of a heart teaser than
anything. And everything. I mean, brain teaser, if you think about the philosophical impact of that stuff. It's the question. It's like, what do you do?
Yeah.
I don't know what I would do. I can't make that decision. No spoilers. We're not going to spoil it, but we're going to say things. So if you want to know what it is, you need to see this movie. And I highly recommend you see this
movie.
Definitely
check out The God Committee. It's it really opens a window to like what really goes on behind scenes. And
it's an ethical issue. I mean, it's an ethical question.
Yeah, to have like that heavy of a decision to
You're
make.
a doctor and you're faced with that decision.
Yeah.
Or a surgeon or whatever. What do? I can't do that. My wife is in the medical field. She tells me weird stories and things. I can't do that.
Yeah,
It's just
real.
too much. Yeah, it's. I mean, I can make all the decisions, but there are certain limits to where I can go.
Yeah, that entails people's lives and everything. And
When it comes to someone else's life, I'm paralyzed. I don't think I can make a decision. Yeah, it's not my life. You know, it's a tough thing. I mean, you got to command those people for doing this.
Yeah, it's not
I would
for the
never
squeamish.
cross that line.
Dude, like just even opening up a body is really something you gotta. There's obviously
That was
a line you gotta get over to be able to even just do that.
Well, that one thing, but the big question is, would you decide who lives and dies? You know, I can't.
Yeah, essentially.
That's the big one. Yeah, cutting open one. You know, it's a training. You do that, you get over the stuff. Maybe not. But deciding who gets to live and die, that's a tricky one.
Dude. Yeah. Or maybe you need to. I don't know. It could go the other way.
No, I would not.
No, I mean I would personally.
No, thank you. Austin Stark, please check out the film, The God Committee. God damn it, that was the shit.
Indeed, man.
Set to peace.